Hello and welcome to part 3 of this canvas beaded bag, and in this part we are going to be assembling everything. Part 1 we're attaching the beads to the canvas, part 2 we were adding the lining, and part 3 we're going to be joining everything together. So let's get right into it. So you're just going to need your needle and your thread for this part, and also in this part I added a magnetic lock. So if you do yeah, you get a magnetic lock, because we're going to be adding that to this as well and accessorizing it, which is not compulsory to do, but when we get to the accessories part I'm going to show you what you need. So watch this entire video to the end. Right, of course, first thing, you're going to put your thread in your needle and make it, quite not too long, okay, just comfortable enough to work with. And then I'm attaching my needle to the flap on the side and then to the main bag, and I am just going to, you can tie it at this point, okay, you can tie it together so it holds, so it's not shifting too much. All right, then I am just going to sew both sides together. That's basically how you join the entire sides. So we're just going to be going back and forth. This is why I recommend in part 1 of making this bag that you don't use like yarn, because yarn is a bit tricky, it frays around a lot, okay. So you're just going to knot it, not your yarn. Me, I'm using yarn, so I'll say yarn. And you're just going to knot your yarn, and then you're just going to sew back and forth. Hold on, I'll come out of that. I don't know why I'm out of frame. But you are going to go into each and every hole of the canvas. Then you're going to match it to the other hole. And then you're going to sew it nice and tight. So we're just sewing both sides together, just lining them up and sewing. I like to sew like the shorter side first, which is what I'm doing. So go ahead and sew like the shorter side. Go into one hole of the canvas and into the corresponding hole of the side flap, and then you're just going to pull your needle through, okay. Go into the next one. I know it feels like my hands are covering up, but if you've already got the project at hand, you're going to understand what I'm doing. We're just sewing, okay. Nothing big, nothing serious. You don't need beads at this point. You just sew. You can use beads after you're done sewing if you feel like you want to cover up like the sewn part, and at that point you're just going to put beads in the thread, and then you're just going to, weave in the beads, like sew the beads on. But here I didn't do any of that because I felt like, oh boy, there's going to be too much beads then. So I'm just sewing. And I have said it in the other videos, mute me if I'm talking too much or I'm not talking sense. I've made the tutorials in a way that you can just watch and understand. So I'm just going to zoom in a bit so you guys can see how it's looking. So this is what it's looking like on the inside, which is why I recommended when I was doing the lining that you make sure that your beads, your fabric, and your thread that you're using are all a matching color so that it doesn't look weird. Okay? Yeah. Make sure that when you're trying to sew, make sure that it doesn't touch the fabric as well. Just try as much as possible to sew in a way that is getting back into the canvas, like you're joining the canvas and not with the fabric, so that the thread doesn't show on the inside like I just showed. But if it does show on the inside, that's fine, especially if you're using the same color thread, fabric, and beads. So I'm just going to let you guys watch me sew everything. So when you sew, you're going to get to the bottom, and then you're just going to knot your thread, okay. Make sure that it doesn't unravel. Knot it as many times as you feel that is okay, so that it's nice and secure. And yeah, and then you cut it off, and then we're going to start on the other side, and I'm just going to let you guys watch from here. Of course, when you're done on one side, you're just going to go ahead and knot it and then cut it off. Then you're going to get started on the other side as well. Please, if you haven't subscribed to the channel at this point, please do share this video, like it, or give it a thumbs up if you do like it. If you have any questions at all, you can leave the questions down in the comment section. So you're just going to sew all four sides, and these are the extra accessories that I was saying that you need. Okay, and like I said, they're not compulsory. I mean, the magnetic lock is compulsory, but you don't need like chains. You can just hold this like a purse if you want. But if you wanted like a practical bag, which I did a lot of YouTube shorts on me holding the bag and styling it, yeah, so you can add those. I literally just, so this is me with the magnetic lock it to be, and I sort of put it in a place where I knew that the flap was going to cover like the other color of bead. So when you open the back, it's like, oh, surprise, there's another color of beads used here. Yeah, so I sewed this magnetic lock on, and it was really easy. This magnetic lock in particular, it has like four sides. So I'll recommend that when you put your needle through, you sew each side down at least twice so that it's nice and firm. And I don't think I'm going to do a good job explaining it with mouth, so I'm just going to let you guys watch again. Okay, so we have our magnetic lock sewn down. So as you can see, if someone looks at this bag, it's just like it's a blue bag, but when you open it, there's another color in there. So I felt like it was just like a fun thing, and also it's because the blue beads got finished. So yeah, I had to improvise. So these are no, they're not lobster clasp. They're like O-rings that look like lobster clasp. So I just got like my thread. I'll advise that you probably use like a fishing line for this, or if you do use like regular thread, at least double or triple it so that it's nice and thick. So I'm just inserting like the thread through. Then I picked up like 7 beads. I put 7 beads on the thread, and then I just tied it, and that made like the loop. I put the I just made like my own o-ring. Okay, I was going to use like the metal o-rings, then I was like, why? So I decided to use like the regular, like just use my beads. Okay, so if you have an o-ring, you can attach the o-ring to it, but I just use like the beads to create like that extra loop that I'm going to put the chain in it. Yeah, so I just tied it 3 times, and that was that. So you can just put it in on the inside. I'm someone that I like to cut my thread away from the knot. So I just cut one of the threads inside, then the other one on the other side, and I attached my chain, which already had a lobster clasp, to the other side. So that's what I did for both sides basically. And I wanted to put like an accessory in the middle so that the bag is not like a plain bag or something. So I saw like this tiny, I have these tiny accessories. I was not sure what to do with them, but they were too tiny, so I ended up not using them. But as you can see from like the thumbnail, I used something else. But I just sewed this down, so I used the same method to sew down the one that was in the back, which the accessories are not necessary if you don't want to do it. If you don't have like metal accessories, you can make like a beaded flower, yeah, and attach it to the back. Use like, gold beads to make it look metallic, like it should be like a gem on the back. Okay, or maybe if you have like your own logo, you can put it at this point. So that was basically it. So I didn't even make mine too tight because I was sure that I was going to use like something else. But you can attach whatever clasp you want. You can just sew it on. And I think that's it for this entire, no, that is it for this entire series of making this bag, a 3-part series. I hope you guys liked it. If you have any questions, let me know. If you do make this bag, I have my email in the description of this channel. You can go ahead and send me photos. I have a bunch of shorts I made on this bag. I did the phone test, I did the measurement test of this bag, so I have a bunch of shorts that I made about this bag, so you can go ahead and check it out for like more stuff that I said. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.